Hi, I'm Angel. I've always been the responsible one in my family, the one who follows the rules and does what's expected. That's probably why I'm in this mess right now. I'm currently living with my parents in the same bedroom I grew up in. Not exactly where I pictured myself at 26, but after my apartment lease ended and rent skyrocketed in the city, I didn't have much choice. That was 8 months ago, and every single month, like clockwork, my dad Robert knocks on my door on the first of the month. Rent's due, Angel. I hand over the check for $800. $800 to live in my childhood bedroom with the same faded posters I had in high school. Meanwhile, down the hall, my sister Melissa lives completely rent-free. It wasn't always like this. When I graduated college 3 years ago, I had a job lined up but needed a place to stay for just a month or two while I saved for a security deposit. The day after I moved my stuff back into my old room, my mom, Diana, sat me down at the kitchen table. Now that you're a working adult, we expect you to contribute. We're charging you $600 a month. I was shocked, but agreed. It seemed fair enough. I was working, after all. But then last year, Melissa graduated and moved back home too. No job lined up, just vague plans to figure things out. I waited for my parents to have the same conversation with her. They never did. Your sister is still getting on her feet, Diana explained when I finally brought it up. She needs time to find herself. She works at the mall now. She's been there for months, I protested. That's barely above minimum wage, Angel. Don't be selfish. I was venting about this to my best friend Vince over coffee last week. He's always been straight with me, even when it hurts. That's messed up, Angel. They're playing favorites and you're letting them. What am I supposed to do? Move out and pay triple the rent somewhere else? I don't know, but they're taking advantage of you. I couldn't stop thinking about what Vince said. Then yesterday, I overheard something that made everything click. I was heading to the kitchen when I heard my parents talking in hushed voices in the living room. I drove by the Winslow house again, Robert said excitedly. It's still for sale. That Victorian is perfect, Diana sighed. But we're still about $40,000 short for the down payment. We're getting closer, though. Angel's rent is helping us save faster. I froze in the hallway, my blood running cold. If we keep saving at this rate, we could make an offer by next summer, Robert continued. And think of the entertaining we could do in that formal dining room. And Melissa could have the entire third floor to herself, Diana added. She'd love that. I quietly backed away, my mind racing. They were using my rent money to save for their dream house. A house where my sister would live in luxury while I... What? Keep paying rent? Or be left behind? That night, I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was that Victorian house, and how my parents were using me to get it. Something had to change. The next morning, I couldn't shake what I'd overheard. While my parents were at work, I did something I'd never done before. I snooped. I found their financial folder in the home office desk labeled House Fund. Inside was a detailed spreadsheet tracking their savings. Each month showed a deposit of exactly $800, my rent. They'd been putting every cent I paid them directly into this account for nearly 3 years. Over $24,000 of my money was sitting in there, earmarked for their dream house. I took photos of everything with shaking hands, then carefully put it all back. That evening at dinner, I couldn't hold back anymore. So I hear the Winslow house is still for sale. Diana and Robert exchanged glances. Have you been spying on us? Robert frowned. Hard not to overhear when you're talking about it constantly. Funny though, I never realized my rent was funding your down payment. Diana put down her fork. You shouldn't be going through our things. And you shouldn't be charging me rent while Melissa lives here for free. I found your spreadsheet. Every dollar I've paid you has gone straight into your house fund. Robert's face turned red. What we do with that money is our business. You're an adult with a good job. So is Melissa. Why doesn't she pay anything? Don't drag me into this, Melissa snapped. Not my fault you can't manage your money better. Maybe if you were more responsible with your finances, you'd have your own place by now instead of whining about paying your fair share. Fair share? Are you kidding me? I've paid over $20,000 while you've contributed nothing. That's enough! Diana slammed her hand on the table. We've given you both a roof over your heads. We decide the terms in our house. I stood up, unable to stomach another bite. Yeah, your house. I get it. I spent the weekend avoiding my family, taking long walks around the neighborhood to clear my head. That's how I met Eleanor, our 70-year-old neighbor who was tending her garden. You look like you've got the weight of the world on those shoulders, she called out to me. Something about her kind face made me spill everything. We sat on her porch swing while I vented. Sounds like you need to beat them at their own game, Eleanor said, sipping her lemonade. I was a real estate agent for 40 years. The market's hot right now, especially for character properties like that Victorian. What do you mean, beat them at their own game? If that house means so much to them, and they've essentially been using your money to save for it, why not look into buying it yourself? The idea was so outrageous, I laughed. But Eleanor wasn't joking. I'm serious. Do you have savings? Good credit? That's all you need to start. I called Vince as soon as I left Eleanor's porch. I need your financial expertise. How hard would it be for me to buy a house? Depends on the house. Why? You moving out finally? Better. Remember that Victorian my parents are obsessed with? I'm thinking of buying it before they can. Vince whistled. Now that's what I call revenge. Let's meet tomorrow. Bring your financial statements, credit report, everything. 3 days later, I sat across from a mortgage broker Vince had recommended. Congratulations, Angel, she said, sliding a letter across the desk. You're pre-approved for a mortgage up to $450,000. I took the letter, my heart pounding. Phase 1 of my plan was complete. The next day, I called the number on the for sale sign outside the Victorian house. Northside Realty, Mr. Peterson speaking. Hi, I'm interested in viewing the Winslow house on Maple Street. Certainly, I have an opening this afternoon at 2 p.m. Would that work for you? We met outside the imposing 3-story Victorian. It was even more beautiful up close intricate woodwork, stained glass accents, and a wraparound porch that screamed dream home. The owners are motivated sellers, Mr. Peterson explained as he unlocked the door. They've already purchased another property and need this one sold quickly. The interior took my breath away. High ceilings, original hardwood floors, a grand staircase, and bay windows in every room. I could see why my parents were obsessed. How long has it been on the market? I asked, trying to sound casual. 3 months. We've had several interested parties, but no serious offers yet. The price point is scaring some buyers away. I nodded, mentally calculating how my pre-approval compared to the asking price. I'll definitely be in touch. That evening, my parents were in unusually good moods at dinner. Robert clinked his fork against his glass like he was making a toast. We have an announcement to make. Your mother and I have nearly reached our savings goal. We're almost ready to put in an offer on the Winslow house, Diana beamed. We're just $5,000 short now. If all goes well, we could be moving by summer. It's going to be amazing, Melissa gushed. Dad already promised I can have the entire 3rd floor to myself. It has its own bathroom and everything. I nearly choked on my water. You're moving too? Duh. Why would I stay here in this cramped house when they have all that extra space? Plus, they said I won't have to pay rent there either. Just help with utilities. I stared at my plate, blood boiling. So I'll keep paying rent, but Melissa gets a free ride. Again. Don't start this again, Diana warned. Besides, who said you're coming with us? The next morning, I called Mr. Peterson. I'd like to make an offer on the Winslow house. The full asking price with a 30-day closing. 2 hours later, he called back. Great news. The sellers have accepted your offer. They're thrilled to avoid any negotiations and get the full asking price. I worked with Vince to expedite everything. Inspection, appraisal, final loan approval. I signed countless documents and transferred my life savings for the down payment. Sunday dinner a week later was unbearable. My parents couldn't stop talking about their house. I'm thinking sage green for the living room, Diana mused. And we'll need to update the kitchen appliances, Robert added. Can I paint my rooms purple? Melissa asked. Of course, sweetie. You can decorate your space however you want. I pushed food around my plate, saying nothing. 3 weeks later, I stood in Mr. Peterson's office, signing the final papers. "Congratulations, Angel. You're officially a homeowner." He handed me 3 sets of keys: front door, back door, and basement entrance. I held the heavy brass keys in my palm, feeling their weight and what they represented. The house was mine, not my parents', not Melissa's, mine. "Thank you, Mr. Peterson. When can I move in?" "It's your house now. You can move in today if you want." I slipped the keys into my pocket, already planning what would happen next. I invited my family to what I called a special brunch, telling them I wanted to apologize for my recent attitude. "I'm glad you've come to your senses," Diana said as I drove across town. When I pulled up in front of the Victorian house, my parents fell silent. "Why are we at the Winslow house?" Robert asked cautiously. Without answering, I led them up the walkway, pulled out my keys, and unlocked the front door. "What are you doing?" Diana gasped. "Welcome to my new home." Robert's face reddened instantly. "That's impossible. We've been saving for years. And I've been paying rent for years. Funny how that works out." Melissa stared in disbelief. "You seriously bought it?" "Closed yesterday. Turns out I have excellent credit, stable employment, and enough savings. All those things you get when you're responsible with money." Diana sank onto the staircase. "This was our dream." "No, this was your dream funded by my money. Every month for 3 years, you took my rent and put it toward a house you never planned to include me in." Robert's tone suddenly softened. "Look, we're sorry if you felt treated unfairly. Maybe you could sell it to us?" "Not happening." "We could pay back all your rent money," Diana offered desperately. "It's not about the money anymore. It's about respect. You charged me rent while letting Melissa live free, then planned to use my money to buy her a luxury space." Melissa looked down. "I didn't know they were using your rent money for the house." "Would it have mattered to you? You've been happy to accept their favoritism all these years." "I guess I never thought about how unfair it was." "Well, now you have time to think about it. I'd like you all to leave. I have unpacking to do." "You can't just cut us out of your life," Diana pleaded. "Watch me. You've made your choices for years. This is mine." After they left, I invited Eleanor over. I showed her the 3rd floor with its private bathroom and kitchenette. "It's yours if you want it. Half the market rate." Eleanor's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely. You helped make this happen, and I could use the company of someone who respects me." A week later, Vince brought housewarming gifts, plants, and champagne. We sat on the porch swing. "To homeownership," he toasted. "To standing up for myself. Have you heard from them?" "They've called nonstop. Robert even came by with flowers." I didn't answer. "Will you ever forgive them?" I looked at my beautiful home, at Eleanor gardening in our yard, and felt peace I hadn't known in years. "Maybe someday, but not today. They need to understand there are consequences to treating people like ATMs while playing favorites. This house isn't just walls and a roof. It's my Declaration of Independence." Vince clinked his glass against mine. "To independence. And to karma. Sometimes it works faster than you'd expect." Was Angel right to completely cut her parents off? Or should she have given them a chance to make amends after they realized their mistake? Would you have done the same in her position? Or would you have handled it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this revenge story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this one. Your support helps our channel grow, and we'd love to hear your perspectives.